YouTube, how's it going? Welcome to the second episode of my vlog. I've been excited about putting this together for you guys. It's been one of the more requested videos over the last couple of weeks since I've been a little bit less active online. I think the reason that people have been asking for this video is the last vlog episode that I did was immediately following my first psychiatrist visit, and I talked about some of the medications that I was prescribed at that time. So people have been wondering how things are going with the medications and what changes I've made and how the follow-up psychiatric visits went. One of the things I want to mention before I get into what's been going on for the past couple of weeks is that after I finished filming the last vlog and I was editing it and uploading it, it really wasn't nearly as personal as I thought it was when I was filming it. The idea of these vlogs is for me to be a lot more open, and I'm off script, so I'm trying to let you guys know what's going on in my life, hoping you guys get to know me a little bit better because I think that is going to make my other videos more effective. So I'm going to keep making an effort to try and make these as personal as possible. The nervousness I have in front of the camera, I think, gives me a lot of brain freezes. And so I don't remember a lot of things I was hoping to say before I hit that record button. So I just want to mention that the goal is to make these really personal, and so I hope that I'm able to do that as I go on. So we'll see what happens with that. So I have a few notes here on what's been going on because it has been a couple of weeks. And so what happened was after I left the psychiatrist, I was on a bit of a high. I was feeling good that I'd finally taken that step, and I had some medications and I was ready to rock and roll with everything, and it did not go at all as I'd planned, how I hoped it would go. So I'm going to put in the description the medications that I've been prescribed and the medications that I'm going to be talking about in this video. But I didn't get the English names. I'm living right now, or I'm spending time in a Spanish-speaking country. So these medications are in Spanish, and in the last video I put the English names in the description, and I'll do the same again for this one. So I was prescribed and given Sertraline, and I was supposed to go up to 50 milligrams a day, I believe, when I first saw the psychiatrist, and then Lyrica, and these are 75 milligram capsules, and I was supposed to work my way up to 1 in the morning and 1 at night. So the first week that I was taking these, I went into a really bad depression, and this is one of the things I'm talking about. I think in the other videos when I've talked about going into depression, I don't really talk about what that means. So when I go into this depression, and when I did as a result of taking these medications, I want to spend all day in bed. I don't spend a lot of time around people to begin with if it can be avoided, but I really isolate myself. I don't even want to leave my bedroom. So what ends up happening is I skip a lot of meals because I have just no motivation, no energy to do anything. I just want to sleep, because if I'm sleeping, I'm not depressed. As long as I'm not having any kind of messed up dreams, it's the ideal place that I want to be. So I sleep a lot. I got almost no work done. It was really bad as far as being productive, and I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't leave the house. I think I went a couple of days without food because I just didn't want to be around people, and so I didn't want to go out shopping. After a week, I really wanted the medication to work, so I let it go on because I thought, okay, these are expected side effects. But after a week of not being able to work, I went and saw the psychiatrist again, and I told him what was going on, and he said, we're going to get you off that, we're going to wean you off, and the one that he wanted me to come off of was the Lyrica. And again, I'll put what that is down in the description. So I weaned off that, and I was looking forward to coming off of that. And he wanted me to just stick with the Sertraline. And as soon as the depression started to lift, I became incredibly unfocused. I couldn't put a thought together, never mind two thoughts together. If possible, I was even less productive than the first week because I couldn't think. And I was a little bit less depressed, but not much. But this time the depression was coming from the fact that I couldn't work. I now wanted to, but I couldn't write for this series. I couldn't come up with an idea. and my other work was being affected. So I had a couple other side effects that were a little more on the personal side as well. There was a lot of side effects with this, and so I messaged my psychiatrist, and he told me to come off. I'm actually forgetting something. So when he asked me to come off of the Lyrica on the second visit, he gave me another prescription. And this prescription, I believe, was for something called Clonazepam. Again, I might be saying that wrong, and I'll put the name of this one in the description. So I was to come off of the Lyrica, stay on the Sertraline, and now add in the Clonazepam. So I ran into an issue. I could not fill that prescription anywhere. The country that I'm in, for whatever reason, it's a difficult drug to get a hold of, and so therefore I couldn't get it. I tried 5 or 6 pharmacies initially, and at that point I gave up. I didn't want to leave the house. So at that point, I messaged the psychiatrist. I don't tell him that I hadn't started the other one because it was still my intent to get that one. But I tell him that I'm completely incapable of work. The side effects, they're too much. And so he tells me to come off of the Sertraline as well. I would assume he's assuming that I'm taking the clonazepam. But at this point, I'm not taking anything. So I spend 4 days slowly coming off that medication, and it was like a cloud was lifted. And although normally I suffer with a lot of depression, I felt much better just because it had been such a difficult 2 weeks. It was just absolutely brutal, not leaving my room and not wanting to be around people, and especially not working and not being able to be creative. So as that fog started lifting, I did go out and I did try and get this prescription again. Now I managed to find a pharmacy that had it, but at this point the prescription had expired. And so realizing that I believe my appointment's this Thursday and I didn't want to take an extra trip, I'm just going to go see the psychiatrist, explain to him what I'm explaining to you guys, get the new prescription for the clonazepam, and hopefully find something to take the place of the sertraline, because one of these drugs is supposed to be an anti-anxiety and the other one is for depression. So I still need both of these drugs. So that's the sort of bad news, I guess, is that I'm not currently taking any medication, and I don't like the fact that I'm kind of starting from scratch yet again. And between the second visit and what will be my third visit was 3 weeks. So this is a kind of a large gap to not have accomplished anything therapy-wise and to not have accomplished anything medication-wise. What I will say, a couple of good things are I still feel very good about the psychiatrist himself. In fact, he did something to help me out a little bit financially with the last visit. I don't want to out him on what he did, but he seems to be very genuinely concerned. So even though it's been just a couple of visits, I'm putting a lot of trust in him. He also explained to me that he doesn't want to be the one that gives me the actual therapy. He feels that CBT, which is the most common, and schema, which I talked to him about, would both be good options for me. And he has a colleague that he is suggesting, and hopefully between the last visit and this visit, he's reached out to that colleague, and I will be setting something up with them. So the idea will be, once I finally get a medication that works, or at least where the side effects are minimal and I'm able to cope with them, then I will switch over and start therapy with this other psychiatrist colleague of his. The good news, or some of the good news from the past 2 weeks, about 2.5 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago maybe, I started exercising. I'm doing some basic, I've got like an app. In fact, I'll probably put the app down in the description as well, because the idea is to share this stuff with you so you guys can try these attempts out if they work for me. So I have this app. I'm using that to do some exercising at home. And then I've been trying to run every day. Right now, I'm probably hitting 4 or 5 days out of 7. And usually when I don't make it, it's due to the depression. It's due to not wanting to leave the house. But I've been doing a lot better with that. The psychiatrist also gave me a prescription for a bunch of tests, checking my thyroid, my B12, and then just a full blood workup. I got the results, and I don't know how accurate they are, and I will be discussing them with him on Thursday, hopefully. But there were some things that made me a little bit nervous, some stuff to do with my health. So I don't want to jump the gun. I want to wait until I talk to the doctor to find out. But I'm having a lot of trouble with the exercise. Not something I like admitting on camera, but I've exercised a lot in the past, and this definitely feels different. And I'm not exercising as much as I'd like. And part of that is because I'm finding it very difficult to do that at the moment. So that's like good and bad news. I did start, and that has been a big goal of mine for the last year. Before I came to the country I'm in now, I had got back into it a little bit, and it helps a little bit. And I know the longer I do it, the more it will help, and also the more exercise I'll be able to do. And so the benefits will compound. The one solid piece of good news is that I have changed my diet drastically, and I don't know if I'm seeing any benefits from that yet, but I know in the long term I will. So before, I wasn't eating terribly unhealthy, but there wasn't anything really nutritious in my diet either. So right now, the diet that I switched to, a typical, and again, I'm sharing this with you guys because if this stuff works, if eating healthy helps lift my mood, then I want you guys to know that. So right now, a typical day is right now I'm starting out with oatmeal, and I'm making that from scratch. So we're not talking any sugar. We're talking just straight oatmeal, and I'm usually having that to start the day. And then depending on when I choose to do my run, I'm making a protein shake with some fresh berries for antioxidants and a couple of other additives just to up the protein in it, like peanut butter. So generally, that's my second meal whenever I decide to fit the run in. For a third meal, I'm basically making like a whole wheat burrito, like whole wheat tortillas with some ground meat, some low-fat cheese, salsa, and veggies, and refried beans. So I know it's a lot of information, but that's what I'm doing. And then my last meal is usually something like a sweet potato, which is really nutrient packed, and chicken, and then a salad with a lot of greens in it. There's no snacking for the last 2 weeks. There's almost no added sugar in anything that I'm eating. Being from England originally, I'm a really big tea drinker. At my worst, I might put 2 teaspoons of sugar in it. The last year or so, it's been 1 teaspoon. I'm now down to 0. It tastes like garbage, but at least I'm not having to give it up, and it's something that I find comforting. It's one of the few things I do, and I've given up a lot of what I find comforting. So that's sticking around, but I've completely eliminated the sugar. So that's all good news. There's no downside to any of those choices that I've made, and so that's it. Hopefully this is a little bit more personal and a little bit more personable than the other videos. And by doing these, I'm hoping I feel a little bit more relaxed on camera, and therefore the videos just get better and better and better as I go on. I think that's really everything I wanted to catch you guys up on for this video. So as usual, I'm still Daryl, and this is My Life in Debris.